When I moved from biotechnology into nutrition, and I started, from having a background in biotechnology, I was very much aware of the genetic engineering of lots of fruits and vegetables. And when I got to graduate school, there was a class that I took at Teachers College at Columbia where there was a class called Nutritional Ecology. And my nutrition program didn't take any money from the food industry, whereas most nutrition programs are funded by the food industry, and most medical programs are funded by the drug companies, and they're the same companies anyway. The FDA, Food and Drug Administration, the same people that make the food that make us sick also make the drugs. So it's the same people. Anyhow, the genetic modification of plants that was put into the American food system without ever doing one single study, not one study to see what kind of effect that will have on our body. There was some research that was done by scientists in Europe, which I'm not going to mention on this page, in this video, but a child prodigy, he was a child prodigy, and he was an older man scientist, very prestigious scientist, and he did some research that had some very disturbing outcomes, and he was silenced and everything like that. Being a scientist can be kind of dangerous, because sometimes scientists are so wrapped up in what they're researching that they don't see the bigger picture. But sometimes some scientists do know the full truth about certain things, but if they say something about it, they could get into a lot of trouble. So that's all I'm going to say. Moving on. So being an exercise scientist and being an athlete my entire life and being a dancer my entire life, in working with clients that have all kinds of health issues. I've had clients with a variety of autoimmune issues, from Crohn's disease to HIV/AIDS to lupus. I've had clients with various forms of cancer. I've had clients with reproductive issues. I've had clients who have survived strokes, ones with hypertension, clients in all kinds of medications and mechanical hearts. It doesn't matter what state a person's body is in. They could be a paraplegic or in a wheelchair. I can still help them become stronger and more connected and strengthen their muscles. Everybody needs exercise. Even if they are in a wheelchair, they need to be exercised. So I'm very dedicated. I've dedicated my life to studying all the ways that one can take the body to its highest level. So that has to do with, what a person eats and when, and how much rest a person gets, and what kind of physical activity that person does, and what that person's mindset is like, what they're thinking. So all those things play a role in terms of how the body performs physically and in our health. Okay. So one thing that has been, to me, kind of a hugely disturbing movement has been the vegan movement, or just the idea that all animal foods are bad. Like, all the animal foods are being made, people associate healthy eating with not eating red meat, not eating egg yolk, not consuming animal fats. There's all these fat-free yogurt places opening up all across the United States, fat-free yogurt. But fat gives things flavor. And when you remove the fat, then there's no flavor, then more sugar is added. And anytime I eat some fat-free yogurt or something, it's so sweet, it's ridiculous. Sugar is really a problem. It's a serious problem, okay? Fat is in the yogurt and the milk for a reason. So my approach to nutrition is using foods that are as close to nature as possible. That's number one. As close to nature as possible, as local as possible, and as fresh as possible, okay? So that means you don't want to, the food comes in a whole food, so there's fat in the milk for a reason. Fat and protein work together. When the fat is removed, it can cause all kinds of issues. We need fat to digest our fat-soluble vitamins. Our brains and our hormones are made from fat and cholesterol. Fat and cholesterol, there's different kinds of fat. There's saturated fat, there's unsaturated fat, there's polyunsaturated fats, and there's different sources of them. We need saturated fat in our diet. We need polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fats in different ratios in our diets, but we need all of them. So in cholesterol, our hormones, especially the sex hormones, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, they're all made from cholesterol. So when we don't have cholesterol in our diet, it can cause serious issues with the functioning of our hormones. When we have high blood cholesterol, high circulating blood cholesterol, that doesn't come from what we eat. That doesn't come from a diet. When people have elevated blood cholesterol, that means that there is some sort of damage in the body. Cholesterol is not the cause of the problem. Cholesterol is what goes to repair the problem. So people have heard of LDL and HDL, cholesterol, low density and high density, good and bad cholesterol. Really, there isn't such thing as good and bad cholesterol, because cholesterol, think of it like this. If you get hurt and you need an ambulance to come get you from your house and take you to the hospital, right? So LDL will be LDL, which is low density lipoprotein, would be equivalent to the ambulance that's going to your house to get you, okay, to the site of damage. The HDL, the high density lipoprotein, is equivalent to the ambulance once it has you and is taking you to the hospital to drop you off so that you can be repaired. So whenever someone has stress in their body, they get surgery, any kind of illness or injury that the body is repairing, the cholesterol levels always go up, the blood cholesterols, and that's the reason why. So if someone has elevated cholesterol, one must ask, why does that person have a high cholesterol? What's going on in their body? What's not right? What's damaged? What's being repaired? So that's when the body produces extra cholesterol. But dietary cholesterol is used to make hormones and also for our brain. Children, babies and children are rapidly developing. They need more than twice the amount of protein per pound of body weight as adults, and they need a lot more fat and cholesterol because our brains are made from fat and cholesterol, and their brains are developing. So children and babies have an extremely high requirement for protein and fat. So I think it is a very dangerous thing when people put children on low-fat diets or vegan diets. That can be a very dangerous thing in terms of the developmental process. Their eyesight, the teeth, the reproductive organs, all of those things, play a role in developmentally, okay? So when talking about dark meat, for example, how dark meat is now demonized, we have different kinds of muscle fibers in our body, okay? So before you heard me talking about power sports and power movements, which are short, fast versus speed, right? So we have like 3 different kinds of muscle fibers types in our body. The 1A, which is slow twitch, okay? Slow twitch muscle fibers can go on for a long period of time at a moderate intensity. So when people run 5 miles, 6 miles, run a marathon, and they're going anywhere longer than 30 seconds continuously without stopping at a moderate pace, they're using aerobic metabolism. Everyone's heard the term aerobic, like aerobics. Aerobic means with oxygen. So that means that that energy system, that metabolic energy system in those muscles is with oxygen, utilizes oxygen, okay? The fast twitch muscle fibers have lots of power and speed and strength, but they burn out in a few seconds, okay? So we use fast twitch muscle fibers for explosive movements, short versus speed, stop, start kind of movement. So in baseball, when someone throws a baseball as hard as they can, one time, and they stop, or they run as fast as they can, first base, and stop. Or, they swing at the ball as hard as they can, and then they stop. They may do it again, but there's a rest in between, right? Track and field, the sprints, the throws, the jumps, all power. Hockey, tennis, tennis, you run over here, you hit. You run over here, you hit. You run this endurance, but it's a power sport. Same thing is true of basketball and soccer. Soccer, football, American football, they all contain, even though some of them like soccer and American football, soccer and basketball are more endurance, but they're still power. They still have, you run, stop, and jump to try to grab a rebound or shoot. Those are all like power movements you need fast twitch muscle fibers for.